You grade everything. Every lab report, every essay, every quiz. You spend your weekends buried in a stack of papers because you believe that if you don't personally evaluate every single piece of students' work, the feedback won't be legitimate. And I get it. You care. You have standards. But what if that belief, the belief that only you should grade, is actually preventing your students from reaching mastery? What if the most powerful grading tool in your classroom isn't your red pen? It's your students. I'm Ben, and on the Teacher's Bookshelf, we take one powerful book and apply it to decisions teachers actually face. Today, the book is Robert Greene's Mastery, and the suggestion is this: keeping all grading to yourself might be holding your students back. Robert Greene spent years studying how masters across history developed their extraordinary abilities. And he found a pattern that repeats across centuries and disciplines. Mastery isn't magic, it's a process with distinct phases. The first phase is apprenticeship. You learn the rules, you observe, you absorb the fundamentals. In your classroom, this is the student who just learned what a thesis statement is and how to set up a lab report. They're following the template, they're learning the form. The second phase is what Greene calls the creative active phase. This is where everything shifts. In this phase, you stop just following the rules and start seeing inside the machinery. You understand why the rules exist. You can look at a piece of work and see its internal structure, not just its surface. The third phase is mastery itself, where knowledge becomes so deeply internalized it feels intuitive. You don't think about the rubric. You feel what good work is. Now here's the concept from Greene that changes everything about how we think about grading. Greene talks about experimentation and what he calls active mode. He says you have to take on projects, expose your work to criticism, and test your gaps before you feel ready. Not after, before. Growth happens when you put yourself in a position to evaluate and be evaluated before you're comfortable doing it. And there's another layer. Greene devotes an entire chapter to social intelligence, the ability to read people, understand their insecurities, and navigate the resistance that comes when you're learning alongside others. Peer feedback isn't just an academic exercise, it's training in human understanding. Then there's what Greene calls the cycle of accelerated returns. The more interesting it becomes, the more you practice. It's a flywheel. And peer review spins that flywheel because students aren't just completing assignments, they're analyzing them. They're thinking about quality from the inside. Greene puts it this way: the future belongs to those who learn more skills and combine them in creative ways. Peer review is exactly that kind of skill combination. Students are writing and evaluating and communicating and thinking critically all at once. So now let's bring this directly into your classroom. When a student grades a peer's work using a rubric, what's actually happening in their brain? They're leaving the apprenticeship phase and entering the creative active phase. They stop being passive receivers of grades and start seeing inside the machinery of quality. They look at someone else's thesis statement and have to decide, does this meet the criteria? Why or why not? That's not service level thinking, that's structural analysis. This is what I call the mentor's mirror. When students review someone else's work, they develop the ability to see their own work more clearly. It's like holding up a mirror. Every weakness they identify in a peer's paper trains their eye to catch the same weakness in their own. Every strength they recognize teaches them what to aim for. Think about it from Greene's framework. A student who only receives grades is stuck in apprenticeship. They get a score, they see red ink, maybe they read a comment, but they never develop the evaluative eye. They never learn to judge quality for themselves. They're dependent on you forever. But a student who regularly evaluates peer work, they're building the internal rubric. They're developing what Greene would call intuitive mastery of quality standards. They start to self-correct before they even submit. That's mastery accelerated. And here's what most teachers miss. The student doing the reviewing often learns more than the student receiving the review. Because reviewing forces you to articulate standards you might only vaguely understand. It forces you to make judgments and justify them. That's a higher order cognitive task than writing the paper in the first place. So here's your Monday morning action. This week, launch a structured peer review on one assignment. Just one. Pick something students have already submitted or are about to submit. Give them a simple 3-question rubric. Question 1, what did this person do well? Question 2, what's one specific thing they can improve? Question 3, based on the rubric, what score does this earn? 3 questions, that's it. Have students complete the peer review, then collect both their peer reviews and your own review of the same work. Compare them. You'll be amazed at how often students identify the same strengths and weaknesses you do. And when they don't align, that's where the richest teaching conversations happen. That gap between their evaluation and yours is the exact space where mastery grows. You don't need to hand over all grading. You need to invite students into the process. You need to give them the mentor's mirror so they can start seeing their own work the way you see it. Let me know in the comments, have you ever tried peer review in your classroom? What happened? Did students rise to the occasion or push back? I want to hear real stories. Keep building mastery. If you'd like a pre-built structured peer review, just head on over to ta.ai/teachersbookshelfresources, or look here in the YouTube description and there'll be a link that you can just click to get that download. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you soon.